Hello everyone and welcome back to SAFC Fan TV and another edition of Thursday Night Live. Join myself tonight on the panel, as always, we've got Jack Shields. Jack, how are you doing?
I'm all right. I hope all the lads are all right. Everyone doing all right?
We're all doing good. Terry, you've been up much. Usually you've had a pretty eventful day when you come on, are you?
Yeah, my exhaust fell off my car on the way home, so it's been quite eventful.
Yes, you could say so. You
pick it up and put it in the boot, but it's not too bad. It doesn't make too much noise, so we'll sort something out.
You've not managed to squeeze a 10-mile run in your day or anything?
Only four.
Oh, well.
That was running after my exhaust down the street.
It's 4 more miles than I've managed to do. And we're also joined by Jacob Kirkbride. Jacob, how are you doing?
Not too bad, mate. In from work just in time for this, so looking forward to previewing our last 3 games of the season tonight, Jack. Well,
thank the Lord for the London Underground. As always, we are live, so if you would like to join us in the chat, make sure you get yourselves in there. Read out as many comments as we can. Last Palmer, so Mackham, hello to you. Kev Muse, or Kev Mems, as Michael Bowers called him the other day, he's on there. James, SAFC, Ramsey, Ryan McCormick, Mick Griffiths, as always. David Miller's on there. And that's everyone so far in the live chat. Before we start the show, there is a quick little thing we want to mention. So those who organise the flag displays in the Roker end for the home matches of Contact Us, and just asked if we could give a little mention to this. So they're asking for as many Sunderland fans as possible who are going to the game on Saturday to bring a red and white scarf to act as part of the display when the players walk out. And if you would like to get involved, if you've got any spare time to help those out distributing the flags before the game, which the players walk out to, then they are meeting at the Bob Stokewell statue prior to kick-off at midday, so 12 p.m. If you are free and you would like to get involved to help those out, distribute the flags. And if you would like to bring a Sunderland scarf, those who organise that display have asked us to just put that quick message up there. If you would like to contact them as well, if you've got any queries, anything you're intrigued about, the contact details are on the bottom there. So it's at Red and White Army 2017, and there's 2 Twitter handles there as well, at JLaura91 and at _BA98_ there as well. So like I say, if you've got any queries, get in contact with them, and if you would like to help out, the offer is more than there to do so. Lads, we're going to kick off, of course, with the Plymouth game. It feels like ages ago that now. Usually we're pretty fresh of a game reviewing it, but it was on Monday, so a good 3 days ago. Plymouth 0, Sunderland 0. Jack Shields, I'll start with you. How would you rate the overall performance on Monday?
Yeah, it was okay, wasn't it? I don't think it was anything more than okay. I thought we had spells where we looked like we were going to break through. I think it's been well documented that Plymouth's home record they've had a lot of clean sheets, haven't they, at home, and I think they're always going to be difficult to break down. I think it was the more that the game went on, you always got the feeling 1 goal was going to be enough. So looking at it from an outside looking in, you know, we kept a clean sheet. You try and take the positives, don't you? We didn't lose any ground on our rivals, and I think that's crucial when you get to this stage of the season, particularly when you're playing the likes of the teams around you. So your Oxford, your Plymouth, and 1 or 2 others. You need to make sure that, obviously, try and win the game by all means, but make sure you don't lose. The swing, the kind of 6-point swing, 3 to them and 3 less of you, then that could be crucial at this stage. So I probably would have taken a point before the game. I know a lot of our fans and in the chat say you should never take a point at this level, but I don't think a point was a bad result, and I don't think it was a bad performance, but it wasn't a great or a good performance either. I think we had a little bit more clinical finishing. We probably could have nicked one. Ross Stewart had a couple of half chances where he might have got on the end of it. Probably a fit and raring to go, you know, on form. Ross Stewart puts one of those away, but a point's not the end of the world, and we move on to 2 home games.
Yeah, pretty decent summary. I think those first sort of 15, 20 minutes, I thought we played really well. We were the much better side, a couple of half chances, like you say. I think from that point on, they then edged it for the end of the second half, from probably the sort of 15, 20th minute till half time. And then I thought the second half, I thought we were on top of them, really. But if you'd offered us a point before the game, I would have took it. You know, Plymouth, I've just had a look there. Plymouth haven't conceded a goal at home in 7 games, all of which they've won as well. And that includes a clean sheet against Oxford, who scored the most goals in the league out of everyone. I think if you go there and you come away with a point, it's not a bad result. There's no shame going in there and not scoring a goal as long as you come away with a point, like I say. And, you know, it just means that they don't accelerate too far ahead from what we do. And arguably, some might argue it's our toughest game left. It's definitely one of them, and we've got through it with the point intact. Terry, I go to you, the overall performance away at Plymouth then. What do you make of it?
Well, I definitely wouldn't have taken a point before the game started. Never take a point before the game starts, no matter what team it is in League One, because it's just shitey League One, isn't it? Should be doing better than this. But
what about if it was Manchester United who got relegated in League One, Terry? Would you take a point?
Well, then they'll just be just as shite as the rest of us, wouldn't they? End of the day,
the geezer, can you?
It was two teams that cancelled each other out. Basically, it was two sort of games of defences. One that both defences played well. Both forward lines were a bit sticky, not very good, and midfield give the ball away completely all the time. I mean, I've never known a team to miss pass balls. I mean, we can't pass the ball. Simple passing of the ball sort of eludes us half the time. I mean, I know it's the level we're at, and that's the standard of football as we got at the club, but it was second half. We kind of dominated the second half, and there was only one team who was going to score for me until we made the 3 changes, and uncharacteristically, the 3 changes made us sort of go into our shell a little bit, and Plymouth sort of took over the game for the last 15 minutes. So for a spectacle game of football, it was pure shite. Basically, it wasn't very good at all. It was just like, very poor football, very not entertaining, really. Patrick Roberts, wasn't it? I mean, Broadhead for me was the best player on the pitch, but when he gets the ball, Broadhead, he's far too deep. He's like almost on the halfway line, and by the time he gets to the penalty area, the likes of the speedy defenders they've got, like Session and them, are going to catch him up. So he hasn't got much of an opportunity. So he needs to be further up the pitch, to be honest. But it's either lump the ball long and hope it falls on Ross Stewart's head, or misplace a pass in midfield. So we need to get better for Cambridge, 100% better.
Yeah, I know what you're saying about Broadhead. He comes deep a lot, I think, to pick up the ball. But to be honest, I feel like that comes from having a lack of sort of players in midfield who can really bring the ball forward. Like you mentioned, there was a lot of scrappy passes. Or players in midfield, I think, were struggling to string the ball about nicely towards the forwards. And that's why Broadhead had to do so, really. Jacob, before I go to you, just quickly going back to the live chat, Ian Wilkinson is in there. Hello to you. Patrick Ward, Richard Northage, 2 seconds, Terry, Jack Shaw, Kyle Dunn, Ian Barron, the Darlington fan, Hells, and Kev Muse is in there saying, Jack is Philly doing a show from Morecambe. Don't even get me started on that. Terry, you wanting in?
Yeah, what bugs me as well is that we've scored a couple of late goals, and they're being by crosses into the box. When did we actually cross the ball? On Monday into the penalty box to give the strikers? We're saying Broadhead's very deep, but when Broadhead scored the goal against Cambridge away, it was on the edge of the penalty box when he got the ball. When he scored the 2 goals in the last dying minutes, he was in the penalty box. So for whatever reason, we were far too deep on Monday, and for whatever reason, next to Jack Clark just could not pass the ball. I don't know what's going on with the lad. For me, he doesn't get anywhere near the starting lineup on Saturday because he just can't pass the ball. And why can't he just cross the ball into the box from the touchline, from the byline? Get down to the corner flag, cross the ball. Why is he always got to cut inside, no matter what side he plays on? It drives me around the bend.
Yeah, I thought him playing out on the right hand side might have helped that because he's a natural right footer. And there was one moment, particularly early in the game, when he got the ball and he did just put a cross in, and I don't think we got on the end of it. But if you do that, consistently throughout the game, then hopefully someone like Broadhead or Stewart, who have proven that they're both decent on getting on the end of crosses, get on the end of it, and you end up getting a goal out of it. But it just, he does do that far too often.
Don't even get me started with Luke O'Nien as left wing back. Move on. Come
on. Jacob, before we go, you're trying to say 123 people watching, 26 likes. So if you haven't already, please do press the thumbs up button. Give us a like. We'd like to see if we can get to 100 by the end of the show on a Thursday. And just remind us, well, it is free to subscribe. And if you haven't done so already, it'll be greatly appreciated. Jacob, then, what do you think of the game on Monday away at Plymouth?
Overall, Jack, to be honest, I would say a decent point, to be honest, based on if you're going by Plymouth's form and their home record. I think they, like you said, they haven't conceded at home in a while. I think they've got some talented players on their day as well. It was always going to be a tough game going into it. But at the same time, you can look at Tuesday's results in League One. It was a missed opportunity, but it's if buts maybes, to be honest. I'm still satisfied with the result. It's in our own hands. Going on to the game in general, I thought our play was a bit sluggish at times, no real cutting edge in the final third. I think we started the game okay, to be honest. I mean, we had more or less dominated the possession, but was it like you three guys have mentioned, as the game went on, we struggled to have any rhythm to our play, and like struggled to pass the ball and keep the ball in key areas of the pitch. Broadhead, for me, I couldn't agree more. I think he drops too deep to receive the ball. But with Nathan Broadhead, I think it's almost like we tweaked the system a little bit. I think we were happy to drop deeper because Plymouth had some pacey players in their side, and we wanted to catch them on the counter attack by putting Nathan Broadhead through into a lot of space at the final third of the pitch. But yeah, the crossing was not at its full potential. It was on Monday as well. I think Embleton couldn't get into the right areas of the pitch to cut in on his left. Ross Stewart, he had that ball over the top where he could have brought down. I think if that was Ross Stewart earlier on in the season, he potentially would have sorted out his touch, took it round the keeper and slotted it in. But one of those days, I think it's still in our own hands, but we've got to take momentum out of the last two games. And obviously, like against Shrewsbury, cut out individual silly errors at the back, manage the game well, and then just get the job done in the last three games.
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing on that ball over the top to Stewart. He didn't really look as if he wanted to take it on his left or his right. He wasn't sure how to take it down, but I feel like if he's fully fit around to go and having scored in each of his previous 3 or 4 games, he takes that down and converts it by whatever means necessary, really. Thomas S on the live chat. Hello to you. Ian Wilkinson says squeaky bum time. Can't wait. Tony Lee's in there as well. So hello to you. Tony says saw health conscious Dodsey today mincing around Toonsbury's. His trolley was piled high with pizzas, burgers, chips, ice cream, cakes, biscuits, fizzy pop, etc. I would just like to point out that is a complete lie. I did see Tony Lee today in Toonsbury's, but it wasn't a trolley. It was a basket I had in my hands. So I don't know what he's going about there. Jeff Hallcroft in the live chat as well says, good point, JS must be referring to Jack Shields. Jack Shields is full of good points. Just like Sunderland went at Plymouth, 0-0. That was a good point, Mick Griffiths, he's in there as well. DJ Sizzler Watson, hello to you. And Ian Wilkinson says, spot on Terry. And he says it twice. So clearly Terry's saying a lot of good things. Speaking of, Terry, you mentioned earlier on how you don't think any point is a good point away from home. Do you not think, though, to a team that hasn't conceded in 7 games, 11 hours of football played at home without letting a single goal go in?
I think I said that I wouldn't settle for a point before the game.
Right.
I go into every game looking to win the game of football in League One. I want to win every game of football, but at the end of the day, a point wasn't a bad result in the whole scheme of things, as long as we go and beat Cambridge, as long as we go and beat Morecambe. 7 points should really see us into the playoffs. So if we go and drop 2 points on Saturday against Cambridge, then really, why didn't we give more on? We've got to try and win every game for me. But
looking back now in hindsight, Terry, do you not think that is now a decent point to come away with?
Again, it depends on Saturday's result. If we get 3 points on Saturday, then I'll look back in hindsight and say, yes, that was a good point. If we drop 2 points on Saturday, then I'm thinking, the 2 draws. I'm not happy with 2 draws. We should have gotten 3 points off one of them,
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from. Plymouth are a good side. They played well. They weren't beaten in 7 games at home, but they were there for the taking. We dominated the second half, but we didn't play good football. We didn't pass the ball. We didn't get on the ground. We didn't go down. We didn't put crosses in. Stewart scored from his head. How many times were crosses this season? We didn't put the ball in the box in the right areas. And I mean, what's it got to take for someone? McGeady did that loads of times last season for Charlie Wyke, and look where we scored loads of goals. Someone like Ross Stewart needs that kind of service in the penalty box.
Fair enough then, Terry. Jack, were you wanting this before?
Yeah, I just think, I know what Terry's saying. I think when you look at it, I think if you'd offered me 4 points from Shrewsbury and Plymouth, I probably would have taken that. I think that was 2, tricky fixtures, really. I think 4 points wasn't a bad return. And I think what frustrated me, though, was particularly in the second half, I thought Plymouth looked a little bit more tired than we did. I thought they looked leggy compared to us, and I think we didn't really press the issue enough. Now, I'm a big fan of kind of staying tight at the back, because I think you're more likely to have success keeping clean sheets and playing a bit more of an organised style of play. But I think if we'd maybe just had a little bit more quality, but being a little bit maybe braver in certain situations, maybe playing a forward pass rather than a square one, there might have been a bit more opportunity there to create things. But overall, like you say, a point, it's not too bad. And it's still in our own hands now. You're looking at it, I think probably certainly 6 or 7 points should see us into playoffs. But obviously, well, as Terry's touched on, we should be aiming for 9, and no reason why we can't get it.
Jack, do you think it was by any part 2 teams who couldn't really afford to lose, both happy to take a point? And I think both teams were quite sort of conservative in their styles. Neither team really, threw the kitchen sink at it, did they?
I think so, yeah. I think, like I said at the start when I come on, I think it's more important in certain games like that. Make sure you don't lose, because I know particularly Plymouth, they've got a horrible last couple, haven't they? They've got Wigan and MK Dons their last 2 games, so I can't see Plymouth getting many points from those 2 fixtures. But yeah, I think you're right. It's make sure you don't lose, and it just would have been nice if we could have nicked a win, but you take a point.
To be fair, it's probably Plymouth missed the trick, because the 2 harder games that have come, if they wanted to get 3 points, they should have had a go more at Sunderland, to be honest, and that would have maybe opened up the back door better for Sunderland.
Probably you're right. That probably would have been right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a couple of other of the promotion contenders to play. I mean, I think we've only really got Rotherham. I know there's a big game on Saturday as well, Wickham Sheffield Wednesday, which we are going to get onto just a little bit later on the show. Jacob, though, is it a good point, really, do you think, with all things considered, to go to Plymouth and come away with it?
Yeah, in hindsight, I think you also have to take into consideration the other fixtures as well this weekend. I think, was it a lot of the teams in and around the top 7 are playing each other, likes of, was it Wickham at home to Sheff Wed? Wigan have got Plymouth, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think if Wigan win that game, I think they're promoted. More or less, I'd have to check the table after the show.
I think Wigan's up now. I would, at the very least, they're going to finish above us, aren't they?
Yeah, but they'll be going for the title on the last day regardless.
Yeah, 100%.
Why they can get the title on Saturday if games go their way, they can win.
Yeah, I think they only need one win, don't they, to get up? I think one more win.
I think there's one more as well. I think Oxford. Is it MK Dons? No, MK Dons have got Morecambe, and I'm not sure. I think Oxford have got a tough game on. I think they might be playing, I don't know, Rotherham. I think I need to check it afterwards.
See, I think on paper, some people are saying that Oxford is still in the race, and there was a tweet somewhere today. I can't remember where I seen it, but it was essentially looking at which sides could get automatic in promotion and which sides are going to finish in the playoffs in League One. And it did more or less exclude Oxford, really. But personally, I feel like after they got beat against us, and did they get beat as well? Was it only last weekend off someone? It's ringing a bell.
Oxford, they won on Tuesday, beat MK Dons.
Right, but was it before that they had picked up another loss as well?
Have Oxford not won 2 since we beat them?
They won the last 2.
Yeah.
I might have got it wrong, but I just feel like since we beat them, it's going to take a miracle, I think, for them to sneak in the top 6, really. So I don't really kind of look at Oxford with the same confidence they're going to finish in the top 6 with I do the likes of Wickham and Sheffield Wednesday, who are, in my opinion, our main rivals for getting that, that 5th or 6th spot, really. Quickly going back to the live chat, Mick Griffiths in there says he thought the Plymouth game was poor. It was a poor watch. Both sides wouldn't have scored if they were still playing. Yeah, terrible one for a neutral, I think. Jeff Allcroft said he thinks it could turn out to be a good point. I think that all depends on future results, really. Patrick Ward on there saying, I finished watching that game and didn't even remember I watched a football match. It wasn't good for me. I think that's fair enough as well. Jeff Hughes says he thinks Matete did well. Ian Wilkinson wasn't a fan of how Clark played. Says how he stayed on, I'll never know. Hello to Emma Hansen as well, who joins us this evening in the live chat as always. Astronaut Kaza in there as well, saying that if Pritchard is starting or at least on the bench, he'll be able to provide crosses or probably assists, which I think is a fair point as well. Ross Stewart, lads, hasn't scored. Go on, Terry. Sorry, go on.
So I want to say a big thank you to Dawn Staveley for giving us £5 on the super chat.
Oh, I missed that.
All right, cheers.
Thank you for that, Dawn. Apologies I didn't get around. And thanks, Terry, as well, for giving it a mention. No problem. There we go. So thank you, John. Ross Stewart, lads, hasn't scored in 8 games. His last goal was the 2 penalties against Wigan. Jacob touched on earlier, there was a point in the game, and I felt it myself when the ball dropped out to him, he just didn't look as if he could control it, get it out of his feet and hit it, really. And I think from previous weeks, he would have, Ross Stewart of a couple of months ago might have just taken that down confidently and smacked it in the back of the net, really. Jacob, I'll start with you. Are you at all concerned at Ross Stewart? Do you think he is starting to drop off in form? Because a lot of fans are starting to criticise him more and more now.
Well, first, I must say, I think there's been a few remarks on Twitter saying about, his head's turned, which is why his form's dropped. You know, he's wanting away this summer. I think that's ludicrous, if I'm honest with you, considering the fact that I've mentioned this time and time again on the show. He turned down championship clubs, you know, to come and join us in January 2021. I think it's a case with Ross at the moment. He just looks burnt out. He looks tired. He looks spent. And I think he's relying, like what Terry said, on more crosses coming into the box on his head for him to score goals rather than latching onto through balls like what he was doing earlier on in the season. But also at the same time, what I'm disappointed about at the moment is whenever we watch our games, the corners into the box, for me, most of them are very poor, to be honest. And we're desperate to have Pritchard back in the side because even though Embleton, he does have the capability to put in good balls into the box, you'd much rather have Pritchard, you know, to land the ball in the right spot for Stewart to get his head on it. But, you know, I have faith, you know, if he gets that opportunity, gets decent balls into the box in the last 3 games, he will take them. But it could be a confidence issue. But, you know, I do think he's a key player to have, particularly going into playoffs at the end of the season.
Yeah, Jack, before I go to you, Last Palmer Smackham on the live chat says the job 09 was on the pitch was to stop their best player getting a kick. Swan269 in there as well says that even though the Pilgrims haven't lost at home for a while, Sunderland played uninspired. Kenneth Allen says didn't think the subs made any difference, but good point. Ian Wilkinson as well says great battle in the middle. Matete one that no other Sunderland player would have done. Hello to the Bristolian Mackham as well. He joins us in the live chat this evening. Astronaut Kaz as well puts forward a 4-2-3-1 formation and puts the players to put in there. So if you'd like to have a look at that, that's in the comments for you. Jack, I'll go to you then. Ross Stewart, are you at all concerned that his form seems to have taken a bit of a bad spell?
Of course, yeah, it's a concern. It's a concern any time in the season when your goal scorers and your main goal scorer isn't scoring goals. But even more so when you're coming to kind of what's called the business end of the season, when it's kind of every game's amplified, and it is a concern. I think any Sunderland fan that pretends they aren't bothered by it, you know, is probably lying, because you know we are a much better team when Ross Stewart is firing, and we do tend to get more goals. I think one thing you can never question about Ross Stewart is his overall contribution. Though he's not one of those strikers whereby he's purely a goal scorer and offers nothing else. He does have a lot of kind of things that go from in terms of assets and where he can offer himself. You know, he does get back and help out with the defending. He puts a shift in, linking up with players. He's always running down the channels. So you know, you can't consider dropping him because of his overall contribution, but it is a concern. I think it's a combination of things. Jacob's touched on the fact he's burnt out. I'd agree. I think we've put so much on him to be, you know, both the defensive striker and also the goal scorer of the team that he is tired. I think it's some of it. It's just bad form. You know, if you know, even a striker Ross Stewart's quality at this level, you're always going to have spells whereby you go through a bad run of form, and it's just unfortunate that it's happened now, coming towards the end of the season for us. And hopefully he can pick it up. I mean, he still had a very good season. What's he on? Is it 21 league goals, 22 league goals?
23.
Like 23, there we go. And so he still had a very, very good season. But quickly he snaps out of it the better chances we have, because, I mean, the fortunate thing is we're getting goals from other areas. Earlier in the season, he looked like he was the only one that could score, whereas now we've got Embleton's popped up with a few. You know, we've got Broadhead who's coming back, who's capable of getting a goal. So we are getting goals from other areas, but it is a concern. I think any Sunderland fan that says they aren't bothered's probably lying.
Yeah, I mean, I feel as if there's been a lot of criticism, and there's even just a couple of comments on the live chat and a few other opinions I've seen online as well. If people saying that maybe it's an attitude problem with Stewart, but I couldn't disagree with that anymore. A few people saying that maybe he's given up or that he's not bothered anymore. Maybe his head's been turned by the possibility of a move away in the summer. Maybe he wishes he got away in January. But I completely and utterly disagree with it. I think over the course of the season, it's basically what you guys have just said there, that when you play that many minutes and you're expected to do that much, eventually you are probably going to hit a little bit of a burnout period. And if he has a few poor games now, you know, which he has done, I think I wasn't criticising him as much for just not scoring, but I feel like the last two games he has had a poor performance on the whole. If he has a few now, hopefully by the time the playoff comes round, he might be sort of out of that small little rut he was having and be back to his best. But I just felt over the course of the season we've put too much on him. He's been expected to not only score goals and do everything else a modern day striker has to do, but he's had to track back a lot. He's had to defend a lot of set pieces. He's had to get up and down. He's had to get out wide, and I feel like that comes from having an unsettled team behind him. There's been a lot of players in and out of form this season, and I think Stewart's been the main one for me. That's always played well. He's avoided an injury all season. He's had to do so much where I feel like it's just a small little dip in form. For the longest time, I think he wasn't even getting any service. I feel it's a combination with things really, but the last person on earth I will blame is Ross Stewart. Really, I feel like if he was getting more service, he'd be scoring more goals, and if he'd been scoring more goals, he probably would have converted those half chances he had against Plymouth. Really, Terry, your thoughts on Ross Stewart?
See, the problem with Ross Stewart for me is it's not his fault, it's his height. We're using his height a lot in defence. So for me, the amount of times he's saved us from corners and crosses and dead balls, he's always there with the head, getting it away all the time. So we over-rely with him in defence. So he's got a lot of running to do on the pitch. We need to have somebody who's further up the pitch. If he'd been a smaller player, he wouldn't have probably been back in defence. He'd been on the halfway line, ready for the counter-attack. That's the problem we've got. Broadhead's going back to the penalty area. So on the counter-attack, we've got nothing. So we need to have one of those two, preferably Broadhead because he's got the more speed, on the halfway line, ready to have the counter-attack. Because Stewart, it does work his socks off and it will take a toll. And he spends, like I say, if you're playing someone like Plymouth and they're having corners coming in all the time, he's always back there. He's always getting rid of the cross. So that the time it takes him to get it back up to the striker side on the other side of the pitch, it's too much time. We can't do the counter-attack in football. And again, the crosses coming into the penalty box have been shocking of late. They've been awful. Yeah. If the likes of if Saturday's match, we're 3 up at half-time, take Stewart off. Give him half a game rest for the Tuesday Rotherham match. As soon as we can rest Stewart, I'm not saying it's going to be that easy, but if for whatever chance we are a few up at some point in that game on Saturday, you got to rest Stewart for the Rotherham game because he needs a bit of a break. Yeah. I know there's only 3 games to go. He does look a bit burnt out to me. Not the same player as he was earlier in the season, but that's because of the amount of work he has to do.
Yeah, and as well, I feel like that's worth mentioning. Got the playoffs weekends here, so the season ends on the 30th. The playoffs then start on the 5th and run over that weekend, excluding the Saturday. But you've then got an extra weekend off there before the final. So I think if it had been the other way around and that weekend off had been before the playoffs started, it would be better. But just bear in mind, before the playoff final, at the very least, he is going to have a week off. So I do agree, Terry. I feel like if you end up going a few goals up and Cambridge aren't looking at the races on Saturday, bring them off at the earliest possible opportunity. We're going to need all hands on deck for the Rotherham game. And then by Morecambe, who knows? You never know. We might have even confirmed our spot, in which case you might be to take them out. Go on, Terry.
I was going to say the same thing. If we get 6.62 games and we're actually in the playoffs, would you be tempted to rest him for Morecambe completely, even if it means you could? It's either 4th or 5th place. That doesn't bother me so much. I'd rather rest him for the playoffs.
I think so, because
if our place is secured,
probably.
Yeah, as long as you're in the top 6, I don't think it matters too much. I mean, yeah, I know you are going to want the most favourable leg, and everyone will have a team in mind that they want to play. You probably want to finish as high as you can, but if you offered us that or resting who is, in my opinion, your most important player in the entire squad, ready back for the playoffs, I would take that every time, really. Quickly go to the chat. Jeff Hallcroft in there says Stewart has played his pluck off this year, which I think is a fair assessment. Mick Griffiths saying, is it true that Rangers are interested in Ross Stewart? That was a rumour that was doing the rounds. Matt Macklem is on the chat, says Stewart will do a Rotherham and bounce back this week. He still does a lot. He's no lazy Lineker. Kev Mew says, I think it's definitely taking its toll on Stewart. Lazy Lobbers Magnet Fishing is on there as well. Says he has carried our attack all season. The guy is knackered. And McKayleen Allen, I put this on screen actually, said Ross Stewart has played 500 more minutes than any other player nearest to him when it comes to minutes played, which I'm not sure if that's entirely true, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised considering the amount of minutes he has played. And if so, then that's probably enough explanation anyway, really, isn't it? Go on, Terry.
Yeah, I don't get that where people say he's had his head turned. Why would you want to play shite for the rest of the season and not get your team promoted just to see teams thinking, oh, he's not playing very well? Surely if you play great for the end of the season, teams are going to want to buy you even more. I don't get it. I can understand if you're not getting on with the owner and not getting on with the manager, a club's coming in for your head could be turned there a little bit because you're not getting on with people at the club. Everything's okay at the club. And you see that some big teams, they're looking at you. You'd want to play even better, wouldn't you? You wouldn't want to play shite. Makes no sense. Yeah,
I completely and utterly agree with that, really. Jack, I don't think we've been to you on this. Oh, you wanted another point anyway.
No, you have. No, it's just some. I think just a little bit of additional. You're talking about fans criticising Ross Stewart. And I think to a certain extent he's been a bit of a victim of his own success because he's had such a very, very good season, scored so many goals, played so well. Fans almost expect that to be kind of the constant. And no, even the top players can't play well every single game. They're always going to have a bit of a drop-off spell. As we've touched on, he's been so important to us this season across the whole pitch in different areas and played so many minutes. There was always going to be a drop-off. And I think it's important now we manage him. I think you probably, if we can qualify for the playoffs as soon as we can, certainly try to give him a rest. But yeah, I think it's just fans have such a high expectations of him now when he's had such a great season, 23 league goals. There was always at some point going to be a bit of a drop-off, and it seems to be that it's happening now. But like you say, like it's a funny thing. A goal on Saturday, a couple of goals on Saturday, and he might click back in and go on another run again. He's only maybe one goal, one chance, from getting on the score sheet and, having another good run. So see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way a lot of strikers work, isn't it? Where when they're out of goals, I think that the hardest thing in the world to do is just to get that first one back. But then as soon as they get one, they go on a good run. And Stewart's been no different, really. I feel like a bit of rest, but maybe a little bit of confidence as well. Just that maybe he might get a lucky goal or something, a deflected effort that goes in, or whatever it is, and it could just spark him back to life again, really. Getting back to the Plymouth game a little bit slightly, we just want to round off on there. We've got a man of the match. Terry, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I'll give it a Broadhead. I know that the defenders played well as well, but I mean, I'd just give it a Broadhead. I thought he tried his best in the bad situation he was in. He had to constantly try and beat 3 or 4 players because there's always 3 or 4 defenders around him. There was no one there. There was no outlet for him to pass the ball to half the time.
Yep, fair enough. I mean, I think with Broadhead, he did the initial bits well. I remember there was one touch in particular. I think at the beginning in the first half, the ball bounced to him, and I thought he was going to pass it off to Embleton. He didn't. He took a touch, turned away from the defender, and just burst away with him with his pace. Went running through. There was a couple of moments like that. There was a couple of little turns and nice bits of link-up play. But then when it came to actually converting his chance, he just messed it up a little bit, really. So I see what you're saying. I'll go with Bailey Wright myself. Any of them at the back line, I thought they were all pretty strong in defence. Jack, yourself, you got man of the match?
I thought Matete had a decent game. I thought he won a lot of possession in the middle. I like his battle with lad. Was a Kamara, their lad in the middle for Plymouth. He seemed to be having a bit of a ding-dong 50-50 with him, and I think he's been a good addition, someone who can get stuck in and win a lot of possession in the midfield. I thought he had a decent game. I mean, nobody really stood out, as Terry touched on. It was a fairly boring game, wasn't it? Let's be honest, but I would have gone Matete.
Probably not many standout players. There was a lot of just average performance, I think, really. Jacob, you got man of the match?
Tough one. Like you said, Jack, not really many standouts to choose from, but if I had to pick one, I'd say Broadhead, to be honest. Every time he got the ball, he wanted to strive forward with it, use his pace, but just lacked that cutting edge. But at least he tried to make something happen in the final third.
Yeah, Kev Muse in the live chat says Matete is the man of the match for him. Anthem Maccamee's on there says man of the match should have been Sirkin. Agreed. I thought he had an okay game. I think everyone in defence did, really. Hello and Nat as well. Tam's on the live chat as well. And there was one more. Kenneth Allen says Clark man of the match. Well, maybe he'll just block his comment or something like that. I don't know.
Who for Plymouth?
He stayed on the whole 90. The most shocking thing was he stayed on the whole 90, didn't he? Didn't even get taken off, I don't think, did he? I was staggered.
Yeah. I think he should get dropped for Saturday, but Maybe something we can get onto that, really. I mean, of course, Saturday's game, Cambridge at home. They've found a little bit of decent form as of late. I don't think they can possibly get promoted or relegated. I think they've confirmed the spot as a League One side next season. So, of course, you've got a typical cliche of they've got nothing to play for. But as we've seen in recent weeks, so some of the teams that do typically have nothing to play for, Burton and Cambridge are probably the two that stand out. There's been a few upsetting results, really. Jacob, I'll go to you first. Is there anything in this nothing to play for, Malarkey, or does it not make any difference to you in what a team's playing for?
Well, it depends what the opposition manager, what message he wants to get out to his players. Personally, I think that's nonsense, because I think a lot of players will be fighting, for new contracts by their clubs, over the summer. And I think the manager will be wanting the players to prove their worths and say, listen, put in top performances to fight for your future if you want to stay. And I think that will be the attitude of the club sitting in mid-table at the moment. And, the likes of your Cambridges, your Charltons, I think your Shrewsburys as well. And I think it will just be the players having the right mentality and the right attitude, forgetting the whole flip-flops on the beach at this stage of the season, fighting for their futures, because it is down in League One. I know ideally players would rather play in the Championship or in the Premier League, but at the same time, it'll take a long time, and a season breakthrough and a bit of quality for you to do that. So you've got to fight for your place at the club you're currently at.
Yep. Fair enough. Quickly going back to the live chat. Emma Hansen says, if you don't win on Saturday, that's season over. I think everyone would probably say that, really. Ian Barron says Clark player of the season. Apparently you can tell against a Darlington fan with that comment on there. Just as well, 164 people watching, 75 likes. So if you haven't already, give us a thumbs up. Please make sure to give us a like. We'd like to try and get 100 likes before the end of the show on a Thursday if we can. We've currently got 75, so we're only 25 likes away. So if you haven't already, please do press that thumbs up. And just a reminder as well, if you do subscribe, it is free to do so. You won't miss out on anything we do in the future, any of our videos or streams that we get around to uploading. Jack, I'll go to you next then. Teams with nothing to play for. Is there anything in that cliche that's thrown out there? Do you believe in it, or is it a load of nonsense and players want to play for their own careers anyway?
I think it depends on the squad as a whole. I mean, if you get a fairly bad squad that's just a bit lazy and things, then they might have that attitude. But I think with Cambridge, I mean, I know we get criticised for being arrogant, but I still think we're the biggest club in this league. So Cambridge coming up to Stadium of Light, they'll probably see it as a free hit. So I think it's more likely to go the other way. I think it's more likely to go that Cambridge could be dangerous. They'll probably have a go. Hopefully they do have a go. Hopefully they attack us a little bit more. I know that people might say, that's going to you mean they're more likely to score against us. But I think teams that come at us, we're always better against them. It's the teams that frustrate us and slow us down and try and grind a result out and time waste and all that. We seem to have problems with that. So hopefully Cambridge see it as a free hit, bit of a free swing, and have a go at us. I think they're more likely to do that than have their minds on the summer holidays. But they've had a decent season, to be fair. I thought they would be down there battling relegation, and they're fairly comfortable. So maybe they're better than they thought. And I know it was difficult conditions when we played them down there, but that was they gave us a decent game. I was happy. I remember coming away from the game thinking I'm really happy to get out of there with 3 points, because there was a chance they could have they probably should have had a draw down there, but I know that the conditions were difficult. It's a completely different game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it depends largely on the characters of the squad. I mean, there's plenty of footballers who I think are just hard-working, genuine people who want to achieve all they can, and they'll see every game as an opportunity to better their careers and prove themselves. When you go to training all week, you don't really want to turn up for the match day and just put half a shift in. If you perform well in the remaining few games, you might get offered a contract at a club in the Championship you don't know, or all these things you've got to consider. But there are plenty of lazy footballers out there, and I think it just depends in which group you fall into. I remember someone like Lamine Cornet, for us, whenever he was playing for something, he played his heart out. When he first came to the club and were in a relegation battle, he played his heart out. Whenever there was a new contract on the table or transfer rumours going round, he was trying his best and he was playing really well. But then as soon as he had no motivation to play, he didn't look bothered, and you could tell. So I think it all depends on the types of characters you are. Terry, yourself?
Yeah, didn't Cambridge beat Newcastle as well?
Yeah,
it did.
FA Cup.
in the FA Cup. So so there's no pushover. I know they got beat the other day against Charlton at home. So they've lost a couple of games, won a couple of games. You know, mixed bag of big results. But they've had a great season. You know, they're higher than probably the expectations. They were probably just going to hang on for surviving League One, but they survived in League One very comfortably. But I don't think they'll be like on the beach. I think, like I say, they'll be come up here against in a good stadium, full house, you know, biggest crowd they'll probably played against all season. I think they'll be up for it, but I don't think they'll be sitting back and going for the point. I think they've got nothing to go for. Like Jack says, they'll be going to free swing, really. You got to go for it. They'll be coming up here. They'll have a game plan, but I don't think they'll be sitting back and just soaking up pressure. I think they'll be giving it a go. But I tell you what, when, you know, they made the mistake Sunderland playing Broadhead after injury a few games ago, and he got injured again straight away. Then they made the mistake of playing Pritchard straight back from an injury. Then I've never seen him again since. So for me, there's no way on earth we should be starting Pritchard on Saturday. No way. We need Pritchard for maybe the Morecambe game, the playoffs. We need him fit. There's no point bringing him back, starting him on Saturday, get him injured straight away all over again. For me, he comes out off the bench, give him 20, 30 minutes off the bench. Then if he's all right, possibly a bench again for Rotherham and then start him against Morecambe, because we'll only set him back again by starting him on Saturday.
Yeah, and I feel like as much as technically Pritchard probably is our best player and one of the most important we've got, I do feel like there's other players in similar positions who can kind of cover. I mean, Embleton's been in really good form recently. You know, his goals and assists have been, you know, over the last few games, more or less, you know, 1 goal or assist for every game that he plays. And, you know, he's only for me, you know, one occasion of picking the ball up in the right area to go in and do something. His balls in the box, especially from a little bit of distance, that are incredible. He can do it on his right or his left. We're seeing his great goal against Shrewsbury. He scored that great one against Wickham earlier in the season. He can, you know, he can do a lot of things. And so I feel like with Pritchard, it's not like with Stuart where we're so drained for players in that position. You can rotate a bit more. Go on, Terry.
Yeah. So if there's no Pritchard and there's no Embleton starting, no McGeady, who takes the corners?
I mean, Embleton probably will be starting.
Well, he doesn't start in my team. So who takes the corners? Does Roberts take corners? Can he take corners? I'm sure anybody can take a corner, surely.
You might as well get your whiteboard out, Terry.
Yeah, that time of the
Well,
evening.
exactly.
Whoa. We'll like to leave it till the end of the show. We'll keep people watching. People stay right at the end for Terry's whiteboard.
Making some changes now.
I'm sure Dan Neil can take a corner with the good quality he's got. With you know, he can pick a pass, can't he? I'm sure he'll take a good corner. Like you were saying, our corners weren't very good of late, have they?
No. I mean, I'm not being funny. Like, if you're a professional footballer at League One, I don't really care what position you're playing or what your strengths.
Anybody can take a corner. Even Patterson could take a corner.
Not a dead ball.
Corners.
You what?
Fullbacks. The fullbacks. I don't know. Maybe the wings.
I just think if you're a professional footballer at this level, there's no excuse for not being able to knock a dead ball from the corner into the box at head height. I mean, we've struggled with it all season, but I can't get how, you know, someone like Sirkin, you know, like I say, fullback, knocks a few crosses in every now and again, how he couldn't just jog over. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just got to be sort of in the decent area, really. Continue on with Saturday's game, really. I mean, I assume we're all of the belief that only 3 points is acceptable. Terry, you touched on it earlier. We've got to win Saturday. Haven't we have any chance of going up?
No, it's a must-win game. Come on, let's not be kidding ourselves. We have to win. If they actually want to make the playoffs, the players, they're going to have to win this game of football. They're going to have to find a game plan. They've got to go more attacking than we have been in the last couple of games. For me, you've got to be against the teams, you know, disrespect of the teams in the middle of the table, the bottom of the table. You've got to be going for the victory. You've got to go for more attacking up front. I mean, I would drop the 5 at the back for this game. I wouldn't be bothering with wing backs or 3 centre backs. I'd be going either 4-4-2 or 4-3-3, simple as.
We will be seeing the lineup Terry would go for his marvellous whiteboard a little bit later on. Jacob, yourself, got to win on Saturday. Having no excuse for me dropping points. Not to disrespect Cambridge, but if we want to get promoted, you've got to win this game.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it will be tough. Like we mentioned, Cambridge attitude will be, listen, like it is for any side like Cambridge coming to the stadium of like it's more or less their cup final. And I think that they've probably looked forward to this for a very long time, considering it's right at the end of the season as well. I know they probably would have wanted more of an outcome to play for going into the game, but at the same time, there'll be fighting to the death, proving the manager that I deserve a new contract, and I can put in a decent performance against high level footballers in this division. So yeah, it will be a tough game, but I think we should have enough firepower and quality to get over the line on Saturday. Come on.
Yeah, Jack, before I go to you, Marion and Carl Taylor on the live chat say, hi guys, a win on Saturday. We will only need 1 point from our last 2 games, which I'm not 100% sure if that's true, but if it is,
I think so.
And I could see it happening with the amount of teams that have got to play around us, got to play each other, but that will put us in a very favourable position. Jack, yourself then, Saturday, got to be 3 points, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it has to be 3. You're looking at the Rotherham game on paper. I know football isn't played on paper, but on the Rotherham game looks like the one, might cause a bit of problems, particularly if they're going for automatics. So I think we need, I think we'll have to try. It's difficult when you're in this running because you're looking at teams around you, aren't you? Thinking they've got them to play, and how many points are they getting? I don't know about you lads, but I think I've done it. I've tried to tot up how many each team's going to get from the next 3 or the next 2, and it never works out the way that you're expecting. Do you know what I mean? Because someone gets a win from somewhere, someone loses a game that you don't expect. So I think all we can really do is go for 9 points. I think 7 will probably be enough, 6 possibly, but certainly if we aim for 9 and maybe have one bad performance out of 3 and end up with 6 or 7, then that's probably going to be enough. So I think Saturday, Cambridge are going to have a goal. They'll probably, like you say, say it is a free hit. Hopefully they'll come at us and attack a little bit. And I think it's crucial if we can get an early goal. You know what I mean? We seem to settle a lot better, and teams can't frustrate us as much and time waste if we get an early goal. So if we come flying out the traps, first 10 or 15 minutes, get an early goal, and hopefully that can see us on the road to the win. But yeah, we've got to be looking for 3.
Yeah, Terry, you want in? You're also muted, Terry.
Oh, there we go.
If Oxford don't win on Saturday and Wickham lose and we win, then we only need a point at the last 2 games, because Wickham will have 1 game left. If Oxford don't win on Saturday and Wickham lose against Sheffield Wednesday and we win, we'll be 3 points above Wickham, and there'll be only 1 game left for Wickham. We'll have 2, so only need a point then. So 1 point. I say, so as long as Wickham loses against Sheffield Wednesday or Oxford don't win, then we'll only need 1 point in the last 2 games if we beat Cambridge.
Terry, are you after Rachel Riley's job?
I was going to say.
I was just singing that when someone said that there.
I was going to say, he's talking a bit like Michael Bowers, isn't he? I think somewhere in Michael's mind palace, there's an Excel spreadsheet with all the possible remaining fixtures and results and point tallies, and it all gets a bit confusing when they go, if such and such beat such and such team, and they go on and draw here, and I go, let's just focus on our games. Go on, Terry.
But in the worst case scenario, if Wickham beat Sheffield Wednesday, they go 3 points above us. That means we have to win on Saturday.
So, with all that being said, then, of course, Wickham and Sheffield Wednesday due to play each other at the weekend. What result is a perfect result? Terry?
Sheffield Wednesday beating Wickham. We beat Cambridge, then 1 point out of 2 games surely is achievable.
Jack?
Probably a Sheffield win would be ideal. As long as Wickham don't win, though. I mean, a draw wouldn't be the end of the world, but yeah, we don't want Wickham winning because that's going to put pressure on us.
Jacob, are all our thoughts aligned?
Full house, Sheffield win, considering we've got to play a game more than Wickham.
Well, on Saturday, we all become Owls. As well as Sunderland fans, we are all back in Sheffield Wednesday. And can you imagine the packed-out crowd at Wembley for the Sunderland-Sheffield Wednesday final? I think that'll be up there with when we shared Wembley with Pompey for the Papa Johns, of course, a lot more at stake, though. Getting on to Saturday's game one more time, then. Of course, after 0-0 draw, touch on how we thought Clark was poor. Terry mentioned a potential change in formation. Jake, I'm going to start with you. Changes for Saturday. How would you look to line up? Is there anyone you think needs to be brought in? Anyone needs to be dropped? Any changes in formation? All those types of things.
Well, I definitely think, we need to add more quality in the middle of the park. But like what Terry said, if Pritchard is fit, do we run the risk of throwing him back in straight away, for his set piece capability, for his cutting edge passes that he likes to make, keeping the flow of the game? Or, do we potentially ease him back in slowly if he is fit and potentially bring him off the bench? It's a difficult one. I would personally like to see, Jack Clark dropped to the bench. I think he hasn't done enough the last few games to warrant his place. I personally think on his day, Patrick Roberts is a far more effective player to have in a front three, but I think he can play on either side. You know, people would say he's more effective on the right, but I still think he can do just as good as a job if he is on the left of a front three. And potentially, I don't know, it depends on, because I haven't really watched Cambridge too much, if they go with like a physical hoofball style of play, and that's how they've got results this season. Potentially, you might bring Danny Bath into the back three. If that's the case, if they do play that style, I'll be open to that. You know, Danny Bath, I think, would be ideal for a game like that. But yeah, overall, I think the main change I'd like to see is Roberts come in. I think he has got quality on his day, but my personal opinion with Pritchard is if he is fit, I would have him on the bench, but I'd definitely have him on as the first substitute.
Fair enough then. Nat on the live chat must be a Sheffield Wednesday fan, says Terry, don't worry mate, we will beat Wickham. Says how are the Owls as well. We're all in agreement. How are the Owls? You know, I've got my blue top on for Sheffield Wednesday and everything. David Thompson says and Plymouth getting beat as well will put us up to 5th. Top CT 83, nice little rhyme there, says it doesn't matter about points, we have to keep our form. The Sheffield Wednesday is looking nasty now with their form for the playoffs. Jack, on to you then. Changes for Saturday's game, what would you go with?
I would have Robertson for Clark, so that's one. I think the shape is another thing. Do we tend to go a bit more 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3? That would be the first change I would make. Obviously, Clark had a poor game the other day, and I think there's more to come from Patrick Roberts. I know I've said it a few times, but I really am hopeful he's going to turn up at some point in the next few games. So I'm hoping he can come in and maybe offer something else. So that would be the first one. Other than that, I don't know. Maybe could you drop Luke O'Nien from fullback? I know he played fullback the other day. I didn't think he had that great of a game at fullback. Could you potentially put Hume in at fullback? I don't know, but I wouldn't deviate too much. But I think Clark needs to be dropped, as we've touched on.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement about Clark, really. When he first came to the club, I thought he was quite exciting. Came off the bench a few times, struggled to really get into the first team, but any sort of cameos I did see him have, I was really impressed by him. I felt as if he had a lot of energy, but just no real left foot. Takes far too long to make his decisions, doesn't want to cross the ball enough, bit ball greedy, I think, really. I just think he's more of a hindrance at the minute than he is really bringing anything. So I'll definitely look to take Clark out and like you say, maybe kind of combine that with a bit of change of system. Obviously, Clark's been playing wing back, I think, really, hasn't he, in the last few weeks? So potentially you drop the 3 at the back system and go to a 4 back, bring a centre half in. You know, you got Bart and Doyle. I think it could both come in. We've been out the team for a little while now, especially Doyle. Go tomorrow flat back 4 and change it up a little bit, really. Terry, we know you've got the whiteboard with us. It's time. It's time to show us the whiteboard.
Well, like I said before, I alluded before, we had Broadhead who was injured for a while. He came back, played 60, 70 minutes, got injured straight away. We did the same with Pritchard. He brought him back after a few games out, got injured straight away. So there's no point risking Pritchard at this moment in time. Now, do we start Embleton or do we start Patrick Roberts? For me, I'd go back to a flat back 4. Definitely drop Clark. And I'd be tempted to bring in Roberts on the left-hand side. Dan Neil on the right-hand side. Dan Neil, Sirkin, Broadhead all play well on the left. And I'll go back with Danny Bart at the centre-back. And Evans, if I thought at any point Evans wouldn't be captain and right, I would tempted to bring Luke O'Nien in, but I'll stick with Evans for the moment. I think we need sort of Evans helping out the defence just in case. But Robert, Stewart, Broadhead, attacking formation for me. And if any of them aren't up to scratch by half-time, take them off. There's plenty to come off the bench.
Fair enough then. Terry, you put Evans in your team there, and I've seen a lot of praise for Corey Evans over the last few weeks, and we are going to have to make it brief because we've only got about 5 minutes left. But I just want to quickly throw it out to everyone. What are our thoughts on Corey Evans? A lot of people have been saying they think he's been improving in recent weeks. Terry, I'll start with you.
I didn't think he was very good on Monday. I thought the first 7 or 8 times he had the ball, he just passed it to the invisible man. I thought his passing was atrocious for the first part of the game on Monday. He got better as the game went on. I thought when he came off the bench against Shrewsbury last week, that helped us a load. I thought that game changed again. I thought We changed the way we played the football. We weren't so open, and we needed someone to lift the heads. And I don't know what he's like as a personality, but he is the captain for a reason. He's not going to be a tatey if he's the captain. He's got to have something about him to be captain, because Bailey Wright was captain for a lot of time for Lee Johnson, and he's been captain for Alex Neil once or twice, I think. So he thinks a lot of Evans to be captain. So he came on and lifted the heads after they just dropped themselves down from 2-0 lead against Shrewsbury to 2-2. They came out like we've won the game. Obviously, he changed it to Corey Evans, brought him on. He got them going again, and we ended up winning 3-2. So he's got something that we can't see. He just needs to improve his passing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were praising him, excellently against Plymouth. And as much as I thought he was slightly better than he has been in previous weeks, I mean, how low's the bar already been set? A couple of tackles, but like you say, I just thought he was so wasteful in possession, really, that I haven't really seen it myself. I've even seen some fans naming him the unsung hero of the season, following a tweet wrote or report put up, saying who's your unsung player of the season, and all those other types of things you would discuss at this point in the year. Go on, Terry.
He has getting better as the season goes on, but it also he had a lot of injuries at the start of the season and throughout the season, so it might sort of go hand in hand with being fitter. Obviously, you're going to play better as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I just think, he's had an okay game on Monday. I still thought he was a bit of a passenger, gave the ball away quite a couple of good tackles, and he has got maybe slightly better the last 2 or 3 games, but I still don't think he's ever really got anything higher than about 5 out of 10 for me. Jacob, yourself, your thoughts on Corey Evans? Has he been getting any better recently?
I think Monday he struggled a bit. I think it was a case of tiredness kicked in. I think he has put in a decent shift, in my opinion. The last few games before that, I think he's done well, to break up play in the middle of the park, keep the flow of the game go. He's not the quickest at times, but he does win a lot of second balls in the air when jumping up for headers, and he does contribute at times to the back line when dropping deeper as well in terms of his physicality. So I think he's a decent work type player, Corey Evans, and I think you have to take into account, he has got experience at a high level, and that's really what you need at this stage of the season, particularly if you're going into a playoff battle.
Yeah, and Neil Thompson in the live chat says Evans won't play Saturday. Neil and Matete, to be positive, we need to win. Evans is a crab, he says. Apparently that's a bit harsh. I mean, it still says he's a human being. Just don't particularly rate him as a footballer. Jack, before I go to you, 93 likes, so we're only 7 away from that magic number of 100. So if 7 people can hit that in the next 2.5 minutes, we'll get there before the end of the show. Just a reminder as well, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to our channel. 4,000 subscribers, so we've got an ever-growing audience. You won't miss any of our future streams. If you do subscribe, it'd be greatly appreciated. Jack, then your thoughts on Corey Evans? Is he getting any better recently?
I think he has. I mean, I'm coming from the same position as you, lads. I wasn't a fan early in the season. I don't think I'm ever going to be a massive Corey Evans fan, but I do think he's been a little bit better. And I know you've asked us a couple of times, what do you think he's done better? I just think he's screening the back four. I think he's won a lot of kind of balls that, because in this league, you've got a lot of direct football up for a big man up front, and you need second balls to be picked up on. And I think he's recycled possession quite a bit. I think he's offered that defensive screen, if you like, a little bit more. And I think he has been a little bit more of a leader on the pitch. I have seen him encouraging and shouting at a few others and giving them a bit of instruction. So he has been improved. I think it's no coincidence since he's come back in and been a focal point of Alex Neil's team. Clean sheets have been better. You're looking at, I think we've kept 6 or 7 clean sheets in his 11 games. So I don't think he's going to win over some Sunderland fans. It's like most fans, when you make your mind up about a player, that's it. You know what I mean? A lot of them don't change that. But I do think he has been improved in the last few weeks.
Fair enough, then. Go on, Terry, make it brief.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I brought back Dan Neil and kept Corey Evans, because Corey Evans does help the defence out, but Dan Neil can find a quicker pass forward. I think we're too slow from the midfield going forward, where Dan Neil can obviously find a quick pass. If he can get Broadhead in quickly further up the field, we'll use Broadhead's pace, it could be an asset.
Yeah, I felt like you have someone like Neil who's more centre midfielder, but more attack-minded, then Broadhead can instantly be sort of 10, 15 yards further up the field and look like getting behind a little bit more. But lads, we're going to get on to score predictions and wrap up. Terry, score prediction for Saturday.
2-0 to Sunderland.
Exact same here. How brilliant. Jacob?
1-0 to us.
Jack?
I was going to say 2-0, but I'll go different. I think they might score, but I think 3-1.
There we go. At least we're all going for Sunderland wins then. I think we all agree that a Sunderland win is absolutely vital for our promotion charge, isn't it, really? But I think we're going to leave it there. Terry, would you like to say good night to everyone and thanks for watching?
Good night. God bless and may your gods go with you.
Oh, as always. Jacob, have you got any special messages for our lovely viewers on this fine Thursday night?
Good night, God bless, and as I say all the time, keep the faith.
Keep the faith. Jack, would you like to deliver that classic line that we all live for at 8 o'clock on a Thursday?
Listen, get up to the stadium on Saturday, sing your hearts out for the lads, right? Because we need every person to count. Don't come and be sitting with your coffee and your bovril. Stand up and cheer, get behind the lads, and I'll see you all later, lads and lasses.
I mean, I don't know what personal vendetta Jack's got against coffee. I think it's
what's wrong with a bovril?
Yeah, because if you're sitting with your coffee in the bovril, you can't be sitting in your seat, can you?
Well, I just mean, don't be one of them that brings like a flask.
That's what I mean. You need to be in the flipping stadium cheering on the lads rather than sitting on the coffee in the background somewhere. It's no good, is it?
Ren, wise men say, get the flag out, get the scarves out and everything.
Yeah.
There we go. Positive messages all around tonight. Speaking of, thanking everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the show. From myself, Jack Dodds, from Terry the Mad Mistake, from Jack Shields, from Jacob Kirkbride. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. But we'll see you later. Take care. Bye-bye. Ta-ta.